Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Savannah McFarlin.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
How's it going, Savannah?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good.
We're doing good. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am a full-time real estate agent, full-time mom, and that's just pretty much my life, I guess.
Sweet. So let's back it up a little bit. When you were younger, did you know you wanted to be an agent when you grew up?
No. I started out wanting to be a doctor or like a surgeon because I always wanted to do something that was helping people. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And then we dissected stuff in school and the smell, and I couldn't do it. I was like, nope, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
I even thought out like other branches too of like, the medical. I was like, I'll go into like helping kids. And I just was like, yeah, no, when I thought about it all the way through, I was like, yeah, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know when I was younger and we like dissected stuff, I was like, the smell.
Yeah.
I remember that.
There was a frog. It was a frog that got me. And then we did a shark, but it was the smell of the frog. All my partners pretty much had to like do most of it. I was the other one like writing and coloring. I was like, ugh. It just wasn't for me.
That's awesome. So how'd you get into being an agent? How'd you go from wanting to do that, and then becoming an agent? Tell us that process.
Well, actually, my love for like, I guess, marketing in a sense, because I feel like in a way, like real estate, you do a lot of marketing because you got to market yourself essentially.
Yeah.
But I used to do business to business outside sales, selling Quill office supplies. Have you ever heard of it? It's like a Staples owns Quill. So they're in office supplies.
Nice.
So I went business to business selling paper.
Nice. I like it. Like The Office.
Yeah. We actually had Dunder Mifflin paper. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was fun. I got to talk to people all day. I was helping businesses save money. I would literally walk in there and it was easy for me because I'm like, I have paper here for $23. Why would you spend $40 when I have it for $23? And everyone loves the free cookies that they give.
Oh, free cookies?
Oh, yeah.
I like it. Gotta have the free cookies. That's awesome. Because that door-to-door stuff probably helped you a ton when you switched over to doing real estate, didn't it?
Yes and no. I do remember a lot of the people that I worked with, but I was out in a completely different area. My territory that I worked was a lot of Detroit and Dearborn area. So I don't do too much business out there because I'm out here in Lansing. But I do have a lot of people that I've connected with that I'm like, hey, if you know anybody or you need help or advice, like I'm here to help. So.
Awesome. I like it. So let's say, let's talk about how'd you make the transition right into real estate? So you're doing that. Did you like jump right into real estate, or did you kind of slowly progress into doing real estate, or how'd that work?
I actually was in property management for a while. I went from one property management company. I actually started like bare bottom as like the admin front desk person.
Oh, yeah.
I eventually ended up being like doing marketing, talking to the owners, doing, I don't know, helping out a lot more and doing a lot more of like the office end of things. And then I switched to a different property management company, and I worked there, and I was actually a property manager. So I was in it more hands-on, I guess. Great experience because I was not only working with these owners, investors, having to manage all of that, plus, all the maintenance calls or, just property management is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. But I did that for a while, and I always had wanted to get my license. And what took me so long was because of my ulcerative colitis. Every single time like a class would pop up, I would be in like a flare, and I'm like, yeah, I just can't. And so this time around, was it when I got licensed, it was 2018. Yep, 2018 is when I got licensed in July. But I was still flaring, but I was like, I'm just not giving up. So
Yeah, you're like, I'm going.
I was like, I
I'm
gotta
all.
do it. So I did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you so between the selling paper to then doing the property management, and then that probably the combination of all that knowledge really helped you out when you switched over to just doing real estate, because you're already like, you know, all this stuff now. You know the sales stuff, and you know all the industry already. So tell us about your first client you got. How'd that go?
Well, it was quite interesting. So where I was at when I got licensed, I just immediately got Zillow leads, and I was kind of set up for failure, to be honest. So I felt like my first couple transactions, I just got lucky. I really felt guilty. I was like, I feel like I didn't do enough for you. Like I didn't know enough to where like, I still didn't feel like I was doing anything for them.
Yeah.
My very first transaction, he was a Zillow lead, and I met him at a house, and this man had a couple folder or lined paper, but with him, and he had a couple of them, and he had seen approximately like, and I thought he was joking, but he really did say like 400 houses or somewhere around, like he'd been searching for so long. He had everything written down. So I seen some of the evidence in each of these pages. I was like, whoa.
Like all the pros and cons of each.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But for me, I'm like, well, you've looked at this many houses and not one agent has been able to capture you,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people that you were in front of, like what happened? And so I ended up showing him, I think 2 houses, and he was like, okay, I want this one. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah.
Be like, sign me up. You just looked at how many houses and you'll want me to take it for you? Okay.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Like I said, I felt guilty because I was like, I really didn't do much. And he came to me already and set. And that actually was kind of the same case with like my second closing. They had like a poor experience, and they were like in the middle of like moving and renting, and they had kids. So they're in like this 2-bedroom spot with all of their stuff. And yeah, so they came to me in like a crisis situation too. So yeah, but
and
crazy.
You mentioned you're a mom too. So how do you balance the mom life with the work life? That's probably a little difficult at times, I'd imagine, this year at least with the pandemic. Yeah.
My little man is my right-hand man. He would just come with me on showings. I was like, come with mom, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna be my little assistant. And I would give him like, I don't know, piece of paper, or I let him open up the lock boxes and stuff, and just kind of involved him. Although my child, I had to coach him like, honey, you need to not say anything when we look at these houses. You have to let them decide for themselves, because he'd be like, this room is kind of small. This is a small room. And, or he's like, yeah, I don't like the way this garage is set up. And I'm like, honey, but he would say the most random things like that as he's walking through the house. And I would be like, sweetheart, like just if it's us. So I tried getting there earlier and being like, all right, let's walk through really quick by ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get that out of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we would have that conversation. Okay, sweetheart, just hold your, we already said what we had to say. Just, let them speak for themselves. We answer questions and guide, and that's our job. Our job isn't to sway their choices. We're just here to provide the information and help as much as we can. So
yeah, so true. So what is one of your most memorable experiences in real estate?
Actually, my most memorable, I would definitely have to say, is when I first joined a team. We were going out together to show houses and, teach me some stuff. Right. And we were looking at, and it was winter time. And so this house that we looked at, It had like one of those like homemade pond kind of things, I guess you can say, like in the front where you just kind of fill up with your own water and throw your own fish in there. Not anything huge, just landscaping in front of your house. And he was standing on what he thought was frozen and ground level stuff, right? And showing the clients and stuff, and he fell through the ice way up to his knees. And we were just like, and he was soaking wet
In the middle of winter.
in the middle of the showing. But he's such a trooper. He was just like, stood there for a second and was like, okay, all right. And then got out, kind of stood there, shook off a little bit, and then just went about it like
Like nothing ever happened.
Like it was nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
was like,
crazy.
well, blast your feet when you get in the car, because he's like, he had like other things to do at the showings too, so he's gonna be frozen for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's the best piece of advice that you received when you first got into real estate?
When I first started real estate, I was given zero advice. So, literally Zillow leads were turned on the day that I got licensed and was like, good luck. And so, I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
How did you, that experience where so let's say when you started out and those Zillow leads just turned on, like, how did you handle those first couple of calls going, do you want to see a house, or how did those, cause you were like, probably didn't even have any scripts or anything ready or anything. So do you remember, like, how did you figure that part out?
I struggled. The first couple calls because I had been in sales first, I just kind of winged it, and I was just like, so you want to see the house? Okay, great. What's a good day and what's a good time, And I guess when I was on the phone, I didn't do any sort of pre-qualifications with these people. I didn't ask many questions. I didn't know what questions to ask. So,
Right.
when the phone rang, I called the broker that I was under, and I'm like, oh my God, the phone's ringing. What do I do? What do I say? Completely freaked out. He's like, just schedule the showing. I was like, okay. So that's literally all I did, was because I was told just schedule the showing. And then I did a lot of my own research. I went online and just Googled, questions to ask buyers. I paid a ton of money for coaching that I didn't utilize whatsoever because I wasn't prepared for it at the time. And I used a lot of other people to ask a lot of questions. I called other real estate agents. I'm like, help.
What do I do?
Help me through this, But yeah, I failed. What I say now is I failed forward. So I failed, and I learned, and I failed, and I learned, and I failed a few times, almost gave up, but I was like, no, and just kept, I just learned. And then once I joined Keller Williams, it was like a whole different spectrum, I guess you can say, or however you want to call it. It was a whole different ball game. So I guess, like, if I was to give any real estate agent who's new or who's thinking about getting licensed, I would highly, highly recommend, and one of my biggest advice would be to interview brokerages. They're going to interview you just as much as you're going to interview them, and make sure it's a right fit for your own success. You want to make sure they're behind you for your success and not for like just themselves.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I see a lot of, like, when I see people like just starting out, like they just got their license and they're like, oh, I'm going to go get my license. And then they get like, some of them like just don't realize that you can go interview other places.
Yeah.
They don't realize it's like, you're the one actually like more like doing the interviewing. And then cause I know I talked to somebody and they're like, yes, I just got hired by this company. And I was like, did you talk to anyone else? No, they just hired me. So I took it. And it was like, nah, I think you know what you got yourself into. So
yeah, definitely interview with a lot of places. When I went in there, like my first initial like interview with them, I was just like, oh my gosh, I love you guys. I'm so like, I was already just so excited because I finally felt like I was in a place where I could fill in all the blanks, because I wanted to be successful. I wanted to, have this be my full time and take care of my family. I just didn't really I had a lot of missing tools in my toolbox. And with Keller Williams and the team that they have and the people, they just were able to help fill in a lot of those blanks to make things make a heck of a lot more sense.
Yeah, for sure.
What
Awesome.
was the biggest piece of advice you got when joining them? I know when you first started out, you got no advice. So what was the biggest piece of advice you got from joining the team?
Talk to people. People have to know who you are, and practice talking, and honestly, like, really self-educating yourself. They gave a lot of book advice, books to read to help you. They have tons of classes. So for them, it was utilize these classes and you will gain success. And that pretty much was it, because I was doing buyer forms and all these documents prior to coming to them and not knowing what a single one of them meant. So they have classes that put you through all of it so that you completely understand what you're doing, so that when you're talking to a client, you're able to successfully help them and answer their questions and not, and help them properly, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Awesome. What kind of books would you recommend to somebody, or would you recommend? What's your favorite book that you've read that's helped you out a lot?
I would recommend for anybody that's in real estate is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I don't understand why anybody would not tell a person who's just starting to read that, but read it several times. Don't just read it once, read it several times and understand the models within that book, because that book really helps to develop like your business and becoming like that millionaire agent that we all strive to be. It's a book that I'm reading in a second time. I'm almost done with it, but it has so much information that helps you with your own success, that as somebody who didn't come from much advice and had a really rocky road, it was like gold to me, just straight gold. It's a great book.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I know I've read that book a couple times, so that's a great book.
I know you said that reading it more than once, and you're reading it the second time now?
Yep.
What have you picked up from it so far in the second time that you didn't necessarily catch the first time you read it?
Understanding the specific schedule and model that they have, because they really talk about your mindset and thinking big, which I've already had that type of thinking big mindset. It's now, what tools do I need to create that success that I see? And reading it the second time, it really, my perspective's differently, I guess, because I've been in the industry a little bit longer. So picking up on the specific schedule, as far as, if you do these 3 things every single day, every single morning, every day, and it's as simple as, it's so simple, it'll change your entire like business. So that to me is just stuck out more as an important like aspect to it, to my business.
That's awesome. So we got an interesting question for you. So let's say you started all over today and you had $1,000. What would you spend your $1,000 on?
If I had to start over today?
Yeah, but you had all your knowledge though. What would you spend it on?
Okay. That is such a good question.
Because let's say you moved all the way to the other side of the country and you didn't know where to start.
I would probably spend a good chunk of it on Facebook, in ads through Command, through Keller Williams.
Yep.
Probably a couple new signs. And I don't know if I would do a lead source, but I would probably hire a transaction coordinator, and give them like a couple $100 or whatever up front, because I hate paperwork. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
That's actually the number one thing I miss being a part of a team is having a transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
It makes life so much easier. So I'd probably spend money on that, for sure. But mainly the leads, I think, or through command.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. How can people get a hold of you?
You can go to hold of me. My email, Facebook, Instagram. I don't do too much Twitter. It's still all these advertising. There's a lot of them. There's so many platforms. I'm also on Google Business, so you can Google me and you can find me on there. But yeah, my hashtag's the Savvy Realtor. So if you see the Savvy Realtor, I try to be in all the pages and everywhere. So
Sweet, that's awesome. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone before we go?
No, just I guess best advice I like to give everybody is I'm a happy person, so I feel like the energy and the positivity and the stuff you put in the world, I'm a firm believer that you get it back. And just be kind to one another.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on, sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think that worked. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. What do we got to point at it? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
It might be there.
might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Find it. It's red.
Yeah. And it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review if they listen to on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.